Breaking right now, Vice President Harris's campaign, which just began today, has announced a whopping $81 million fundraising haul since she entered the race. That is the largest 24-hour total of any candidate in U.S. history.
Here's just one reason that voters seem to detest Kamala Harris. She wants to ban plastic straws.
She had disastrous staff turnover as vice president. I check it on the daily.
She does not speak well. As a senator, she co-sponsored a bill with Bernie Sanders.
We're canceling the entire primary.
To not be the standard bearer for the party. Yes, sir.
No, that's not Mrs. Alternate Facts herself preaching on eloquence, is it?
Rarely has anything on it, or one or two things on it. She does not speak well. Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
Surely not on behalf of Captain Bone Spurs and the tail of the electrocuted shark.
And you're in the boat, and you have this tremendously powerful battery. Well, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark.
As one would come to expect in the wake of Joe Biden's endorsement of Kamala Harris, there was an insatiable amount of copium to go around Fox News. That and good old-fashioned misogyny and racism, of course.
And a DEI vice president.
If they can drag him across the finish line and install Kamala, we have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate for the rest of the administration.
Held a primary. People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertisements. And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden. Now they just woke up one morning and said, never mind, we're canceling the entire primary. We're getting rid of our candidate, and we're pretending the election has never even happened, and we're going to let donors handpick a new nominee. They're publicly admitting that they are an oligarch.
Following the lead of their unhinged leader sending out conspiracies into the early hours of the morning, Fox News hosts were swift to point out glaring issues with Biden's likely replacement, Kamala Harris, starting with laughing.
Here's just one reason that voters seem to detest Kamala Harris. You decide.
Okay.
Yes, you're giggling, Vice President.
So laughing's an issue. How about being laughed at? Because we all know that Donnie doesn't like that too much.
But, you know, when I was building the wall, I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers. And they laughed at me. I hate when people laugh at me. I hate it. I hate it. No, it's so disrespectful. They laughed at me. We won't do that.
Which has me wonder, if that's the case, then why are his advisors allowing him to continue to talk about Hannibal Lecter at every speech? And then it was over to Kellyanne Conway, who pulled out the old tropes of her being lazy and not able to speak well.
She had disastrous staff turnover as vice president. I check it on the daily. Her public schedule, gentlemen, rarely has anything on it, or one or two things on it. She does not speak well. She does not work hard.
All right, so Kellyanne, let me ask you.
And she should not be the standard bearer for the party. Yes, sir.
As she does the bidding for a man who spends more time on the golf course than he does on the trail and has talked himself into knots on countless occasions.
I wanted to refute it. They said, sir, don't dignify it with a rebuttal.
Have you been noticing peculiar behavior recently in someone you know?
Carried out by
someone who mixes fiction and reality?
the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man.
Perhaps someone of advanced age you have known for years.
Did you just see Maduro? Venezuela, it's unbelievable, Venezuela.
Of course, we all have our goofs.
Ford, I wish covered the oranges of the investigation.
Not to mention the obscene amount of times that he's got names mixed up. And the reason for all this, right, is fear. It's so obvious. They are so afraid that they no longer have the crutch of Trump being a mere 2 years younger than Biden. And so they're petrified that the topic may shift to, I don't know, accomplishments, policy positions, popularity of those positions.
As a senator, she co-sponsored a bill with Bernie Sanders that would force Americans into socialized single-payer health care, that kind of system.
Do you think the president is racist?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Calling Mexicans rapists and criminals? His first order of business was to institute a Muslim ban? It all speaks for itself.
You know, the ones that Trump takes credit for, the least popular policy position in America, whereas Kamala Harris has been a champion for female reproductive rights.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form. Because for 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it. They wanted to get it back, right? You wouldn't have that. There would be no question. Nobody else was going to get that done but me. Yeah. And we did it. And we did something that was a miracle.
That have banned access to reproductive freedom, to abortion. They're concerned that if their daughter is going to college, will she go to a state where she will have access to the health care she might need, including reproductive health? If she chooses, she will talk with her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but it should not be the government telling her what to do. We are not asking anyone to abandon their personal beliefs. Right. It's just that the government should not, in this year of our Lord 2024, the government should not be telling women what to do with their bodies.
So this was fascinating, and I'll get to abortion in just a moment, but I disagreed with almost everything she said in this interview. I will say it was one of her better interviews when it came to style. She's been clearly doing some sort of media training, and she's been deployed to hit 3 buckets. Progressives, where she has more credibility than Joe Biden. She did that today. She talked about Israel and Gaza. Young people, she's been going to campuses. She hit that today in this interview. She talked about, she literally said, I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z, kept bringing up student loans. And then women. She's on a show whose audience is mainly women. You just saw it. She brought up abortion again and again and again. Even when she was given low-hanging fruit, she was asked about January 6th and 91 indictments against Trump. She pivoted right back to abortion because she knows what is true, which is the GOP has lost every single abortion ballot initiative post-Roe, every single one. Ohio, Kansas, not only that, record turnout. Vox, more Kansas voted on abortion referendum than in any primary election in Kansas history. New York Times, twice as many people voted on Ohio measure that cast ballots in primaries for governor, Senate, and House. She knows abortion ballot initiatives will be on 10 states at least and swing states. So she wants to drive young women to the polls. This is why I've implored the GOP, as someone who is pro-life myself and adamantly so, speak from a place of compassion, which I've been watching Governor Ron DeSantis. He talks about hearing his daughter's heartbeat. And not only that, speak to be pro-mother, not just pro-baby, pro-mother. And Governor DeSantis, his last interview, he said, I made childcare products tax-free in the state of Florida. I am going to be an advocate for maternal health care. We as a party must do that because what Kamala is doing, right or wrong, is very powerful among young women.
As I said throughout my coverage, right, Biden stayed in. I backed him as more mentally sound than this guy, 100%. But the issue was that our news cycle was clogged with gaff-offs and segments on who descends Air Force One quicker, which, as Bernie Sanders pointed out, who cares when it comes to running the country?
And let me say this, and maybe the most important point, Bob, I want to make this morning. What we are talking about now is not a Grammy Award contest for Best Singer. Biden is old. He's not as articulate as he once was. I wish he could jump up the steps on Air Force One. He can't. What we have got to focus on is policy. Whose policies have and will benefit the vast majority of the people in this country.
Now they can't hide behind it anymore.
Yeah, Trump is now the oldest nominee that we've ever seen in U.S. presidential history.
Because we have work to do. And so I'm going to be on the phone tonight calling delegates. Getting them, whipping them up, trying to get them on board for Kamala Harris. I don't think that's going to be a difficult task. And anything else the vice president needs to do, I'll be there. Because right now, Kamala Harris has her work cut out for her. She's running against the oldest nominee for president of the United States in American history. And so when you have this type of change election, when you have this type of generational divide that you have, it's a question of whether or not you want to go backwards with Donald Trump or forward with Kamala Harris. I mean, the man is nearly 80 years old. And so the question is, can he serve another 4 years? I'm not sure he can.
Trump is laid bare, warts and all.
How is the Trump campaign responding to this?
Of course, Donald Trump attacking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We know from our sources that the Trump team has been building a book to take on Kamala Harris.
She prosecuted sex predators. He is one.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.